Hi and welcome to intense core training. During the exercises, in between the exercises, I'm going to read something about the inferior vena cava filter, and participating in the exercise is at your own risk. And the inferior vena cava filter has something to do with the blood system and internal organs. I'm going to talk in between the exercises the whole time about internal organs and the blood system. Let's start with the first exercise. We're having the legs standing wide apart and we're breathing in and out. Just a warm-up exercise. We're breathing in and out, and again in and out. Another round in, out, and now we're closing the legs and we can start with the first exercise, in which we probably do before we're going to look through the inferior vena cava filter. So we're bringing one leg up into a right angle with a flexed foot, even lined hips, straight with the back, and we're pressing the hand on top of the knee, doing it with quite a lot of effort. We don't have a completely straight arm, have a little bend in the elbow, and give more effort into it. We turn up with the back, right angle with the leg, flexed foot, even aligned hips, turn up with the back, and keep pressing with a lot of effort, and don't have not a bend in the elbow, and put effort into it. We turn up, have a straight back, and we're done now on the other side. The leg up, and we're pressing from the top, turn up, even aligned hips, right angle with the leg, flexed foot, put effort into it, and a little bend in the elbow. We turn up, even lined hips, right angle with the leg, and keep pressing, more effort. Turn up, and we're done. So, the inferior vena cava filter is a medical device. It's a device for medicine, so it's a medical device. The inferior vena cava filter is made out of metal. It's a metallic medical device, the inferior vena cava filter. The inferior vena cava filter should prevent pulmonary embolism. By pulmonary embolism, a blood clot forms, which happens mostly in the blood vessels of the legs and flows through the blood vessels to the lungs, the occludes and artery in the lungs. So a blood clot can form in the blood vessels of the legs, travel up to the through the inferior vena cava, then to the lungs, and occludes the lungs, so blocks the artery in the lungs. And the inferior vena cava, a metallic medical device, should prevent that. Next exercise. We're going into quarter squat, and we're pressing against the top of the leg. And again, with quite a lot of force. We roll up. Now on the other side. And now we're going a bit deeper down to squat into a five. Squat, and we're pressing down the middle part of the leg. And again with quite a lot of effort. And on the other side. And we're going down into a three-quarter squat, and we're pressing close to the knee. And on the other side. And we're done with this exercise. Now to the next exercise. The leg up, again a right angle, flexed foot, even right hip, start up with the back, and we're pressing against the inside of the knee. Again a little bend in the elbow. And turn up, even lined hips, and keep pressing, put effort. So pulmonary embolism is when a blood clot, which happens mostly in the legs, forms, breaks off, and travels through the blood vessels into the lungs and gets stuck in the arteries of the lungs. And the other leg comes up, and same rules. Tall up with the back, straight back, even lined hips, right angles of the leg and flexed foot. Pulmonary embolism is an occluded artery in the lungs. So a blood clot gets stuck in the arteries of the lungs. And we're done with the exercise. Inferior vena cava filter should prevent that a blood clot that had formed in the blood vessels of the legs travels through the femoral vein, which are coming from the legs, through the external iliac vein to the common iliac vein, joining at the height of the fifth lumbar vertebra to the inferior vena cava, and prevent that it then not travels through the inferior vena cava up through the abdomen to the right atrium of the heart, then through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle of the heart, and then through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery, delivering blood from the heart to the lungs. And here as the lungs occludes the arteries, which is pulmonary embolism and can be lethal. Next exercise, and I'm going to explain it more. We're going into half squat, and we're pressing against the leg, and we're going to the leg. The other side, we're pressing against the knee, and we're going to the knee. And again, we're pressing against the knee, and we're going to the knee. Press against it, and go to it. And last one. So, a blood clot can form in the legs, and it would travel through the femoral vein. Femoral arteries going down, femoral veins coming up. It would travel through the femoral vein up into the external iliac vein, to the external iliac vein, and then through the common iliac vein, which are joining at the height of the fifth lumbar vertebra. Here, and then it would travel up a blood clot through the inferior vena cava to the heart. And the heart, it would come through the tricuspid into the right atrium. It would come the inferior vena cava comes up into the right atrium. And from the right atrium, it would go through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle of the heart, and then through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery, bringing the blood from the heart to the lungs, where our blood clot would get stuck. Next exercise, up with the legs, same rules, and we're pressing on the outside. And the rules are to have the right angle of the leg, of legs foot, even line hips, tall up with the back, a little bend in the elbow, and with effort. And right. And switching to the other side. Same rules. Even lined hips, tall up with the back. Right angle with the leg, flexed foot. Little bend in the elbow. And put effort into it. And to the next exercise, the propeller. Into foot squat, arms to the outside. Going into the side and pressing against the arm. And we're looking up to the other arm. And again, have a little bend in the elbow. That's why we're down in full squat. And changing to the other side. And to the next exercise. Again, the leg up, and we're pressing on the outside with the same rules. And now we are opening the leg. And on the other side. Riding with the leg, flex foot, even the light hips and tall up with the leg. And another round. Leg up. We are pressing. So the inferior vena cava filter is implanted into the inferior vena cava, which goes here up to the heart, so that the blood clot is catched by it and does not travel further. So it is inserted through different ways into the inferior vena cava, a filter. It's a metallic medical device, a filter. The blood clot coming up the inferior vena cava gets stuck on the filter and doesn't go into the lungs. The next exercise it is where we are going into 90-90 lunge, and now we're pressing against the outside of the knee. And we're changing to the other side. Tall up with the back. I have a straight back. And back to the other side. Again, 90-90 lunge. And now we are pulling the leg up. Now be really tall up with the back. And we're pulling up with the leg. Have a straight back and a tall back if possible. And changing to the other side. And pull up, straight back. And back to the other side. Last exercise in 90-90 lunge. We are pulling underneath the knee. Again, straight back. On the other side, tall up, straight back again, and we're pulling underneath the knee. And to the last exercise. Now into full lunge, and we're pulling again at the knee with a straight back, tall up as possible. And on the other side, full lunge, tall up, straight back, and we're pulling a little underneath the knee. And we're done with the exercises. Now to the stretching. We're here on the ground, we're going down and we're pulling a little bit the toes and we're stretching the leg. And on the other side, and now we're coming up with the arms, we're doing the crab in the morning. We're breathing in, and out and we're leaning back. And breathe again in, and out and we're leaning again back. Again in, now close the legs. We're doing the reed in the wind, so breathe in. And out, and now we're leaning again back, what we have in the hands and the feet close. Breathe in again, back into the middle. And out, and we're leaning again back. Breathe in, back into the middle. Now we're diving down. Stretching both legs at a time. Now we're stretching only the left leg. Now we're turning the heel of the left leg to the outside. And we're turning with the body to the left. We're bringing the left heel again in. We're putting the toes to the left of the left leg and we are turning to the right. And over the other leg. We are bending the left leg and we have the right leg straight. Now we're bringing the heel of the right leg to the outside, to the right, and going with the body to the right. Now changing, we're going with the toes of the right leg to the outside, to the right, and we're going with the body to the left. And both together in the middle, we're stretching both at a time. We're breathing in, and out, and we're coming up with the round back and making a top and backward shoulder roll. Now just the opening exercise again, so we're breathing in. And out. And again in. And out. Last round, in. And out. Now close the legs. And we are done with the intense core training. So, a blood clot can form in the blood vessels of the leg. And it would then travel through the femoral vein up to the external iliac vein here. And when the external iliac vein would become here the common iliac vein, on the right side, or the left side, to the common iliac vein. And the common iliac veins from both legs are joining at the height of the fifth lumbar vertebra. So the lumbar spine is the lower third of the spine, and it's the fifth vertebra, so around here. These common iliac veins are joining, and they are becoming then here the inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava travels up to the heart and goes into the heart, into the right atrium of the heart, coming from here, and then through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, and from the right ventricle through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery, leading the blood from the heart away to the lungs, and then the blood vessel would get stuck at the arteries, which are going closer and closer at the lungs to get oxygenated. So this big pulmonary artery, it splits into a superior and inferior vena cava, and then they go closer and closer to capillaries, and there it would get stuck, the blood clot. And when it comes to pulmonary embolism, shortness of breath, and more problems, 10,000 deaths per year in the United States. And by an inferior vena cava filter is inserted through a catheter, through the femoral vein, or through the, I don't know the name completely. So it is inserted and comes into the inferior vena cava, which travels here, and where the filter is inserted, and if a blood clot comes then up, it is catched by this filter and doesn't go to the heart and to the lungs and gets stuck. It's catched properly in a filter. The filter can be renewed if it gets full or something. We are temporarily and permanently filters, but I don't know what it means, I just read it. And so it is an inferior vena cava filter. It's inserted into the inferior vena cava so that the blood clot gets catched and it doesn't cause pulmonary embolism. I thank you very much, and until the next time.